picture this. It's a typical Tuesday morning here in the UK.
Right.
You're over 50, you're trying to take care of yourself, and you start your day with a couple of slices of crispy bacon alongside your eggs.
Sounds pretty standard.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you're grabbing a quick, convenient salami sandwich. For lunch, it feels completely normal, right? Traditional even.
Very normal.
But what if I told you that those exact highly normalized choices are actively driving up your risk of heart disease, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, and chronic cellular inflammation?
It's a harsh reality check because we often think we're making reasonable dietary choices, especially if we aren't eating fast food every single day.
Right, like I'm not eating burgers, so I'm fine.
Exactly. But the clinical data tells a very different, much more urgent story about what actually happens inside our cells when we consume these specific meats as we get older.
And to figure out exactly how you can eat to stay strong without blowing up your heart health, we're cross-referencing everything today.
We really are.
Yeah, we're looking at cancer reports from the World Health Organization, the National Institute on Aging's dietary guidelines, some fascinating cardiovascular research, and even the everyday habits of the world's longest living people in the blue zones.
It's a lot of data.
It is, but the goal of this deep dive is to give you a definitive blueprint for navigating protein and meat in your 50s and beyond. But before we can build a healthy plate, we really have to clear out the hazards.
Absolutely. We need to look at the primary offenders. And at the very top of that list are processed meats.
Okay.
So we're talking about bacon, sausages, salami, hot dogs, corned beef, highly salted deli meats, and basically any canned or preserved meats.
I want to stop right there. Because when I hear the term processed meat, I immediately picture like a cheap plastic-wrapped hot dog from a petrol station.
Sure.
But what if I'm buying a high-end artisanal cured salami from an authentic Italian deli? I mean, surely that's not in the same danger zone.
It's a common misconception, honestly. But from a biological standpoint, your body doesn't care how much you paid for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or how artisanal the packaging is. According to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, which is the cancer agency of the WHO, by the way, meat is considered processed if it has been transformed through salting, curing, fermentation, or smoking.
So it's the process itself.
Exactly. It's the actual biological process of preservation that introduces the risk regardless of the price tag.
That is wow.
And it's not just the cured stuff. The list of culprits you need to strictly limit also includes fatty red meats, so your standard cuts of beef, pork, and lamb, and fried chicken.
Right, chicken too.
Oh, yeah. In fact, the National Institute on Aging explicitly advises older adults to avoid frying foods entirely. They urge us to bake, broil, or steam instead.
You know, the statistics on this are genuinely staggering. I was looking at the WHO data, and they actually classify processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen.
Yes.
That puts it in the exact same risk category as tobacco smoking and asbestos.
It really highlights the strength of the evidence.
Right. In terms of the sheer proof that it causes cancer in humans, they found that eating just 50 grams of processed meat daily increases your risk of colorectal cancer by 18%.
And 50 grams is nothing.
It's nothing. That's just one hot dog or like a couple of slices of bacon.
It is a tiny amount, and the global impact is massive. The Global Burden of Disease Project estimated that about 34,000 cancer deaths per year worldwide are directly attributable to diets high in processed meat.
You know, hearing those numbers, it really feels like processed meats are the dietary equivalent of a predatory loan.
How do you mean?
Well, they give you this quick, incredibly tasty protein fix right now, right?
Yeah.
Satisfying the immediate craving.
Right.
But over the long term, they're charging you massive hidden interest rates on your cellular health. You don't see the cost up front, but eventually the debt comes due.
That is a remarkably accurate way to frame it. The hidden interest is the cellular damage accumulating silently over decades.
So I really want to dig into that hidden interest. Let's look under the hood. We know what to avoid, but I want to know the mechanisms.
The why.
Yeah, why are these specific foods so uniquely damaging, particularly after age 50? What is actually breaking down in the body?
Well, let's start with your blood vessels. Processed meats are absolutely loaded with dietary sodium.
Right, salt.
A lot of salt. Now, as we age, our blood vessels naturally begin to lose some of their youthful elasticity. When you introduce massive amounts of sodium into your system, it actively pulls water into your bloodstream.
Okay.
That increases the sheer volume of blood pushing against the vascular walls, which spikes your blood pressure.
Okay, so it's like turning up the water pressure in an old garden hose.
Exactly. But it goes deeper than just pressure. That constant high-pressure state damages the endothelial cells. That's the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels.
Ouch.
Yeah, over time, this damage causes the vessels to become physically stiffer. It's a condition known as reduced arterial compliance.
Reduced arterial compliance, got it.
And stiff blood vessels can't expand and contract to manage blood flow properly. That is a direct paved pathway to heart failure and stroke. The cardiovascular research we looked at from the Discovery Scientific Society highlights that men consuming just 1.2 servings of processed red meat a day saw a 28% increase in heart failure.
That arterial stiffness makes total sense. And I imagine the high-fat content in standard red meat isn't helping those arteries either.
Not at all. Fatty red meats bring high levels of saturated fats and cholesterol into the mix. Those can build up as plaque inside those already stiffened arteries.
Right.
The Women's Health Study, which followed tens of thousands of women, found that high consumption of red meat and processed meat increased the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 28% and 23%, respectively.
But the fat and the salt are really only part of the story, right?
Yeah.
Because when I was reading through the research, the actual chemical reactions happening during cooking and preserving, they seemed like the real villains here.
The chemistry is where the danger really escalates. Let's look at preservatives first.
Okay.
Processed meats are typically treated with nitrates and nitrites. That's to keep them looking fresh and pink, and obviously to prevent bacterial growth.
Makes sense.
The problem is what happens when those compounds hit the acidic environment of your stomach. They interact with the amino acids in the meat to form nitrosamines.
Nitrosamines.
Yes, which are highly potent known carcinogens that actively damage the DNA in your cells.
Which brings up a huge question I think a lot of people have. You walk into the supermarket and you see these fancy packages of nitrate-free or uncured deli turkey slices.
Oh, yes.
They market them as healthy, natural alternatives. Are those a safe loophole?
I'm so glad you brought that up because it is a brilliant marketing trick. But biologically, no, it is not a safe loophole.
Really?
The American Institute for Cancer Research has been very clear on this. Those nitrate-free products use natural sources of nitrates, most commonly celery powder or celery juice.
Right, which sound incredibly healthy.
It does. But your body doesn't know the difference between a synthetic nitrate and a celery-derived nitrate. In your saliva and stomach, those natural nitrates are converted into the exact same nitrates, which form the exact same cancer-causing nitrosamine.
You're kidding.
I'm not. They still count as processed meats. Full stop.
That is wild.
Yeah.
So a nitrate is a nitrate no matter how natural the packaging looks.
Exactly.
And what about cooking? You mentioned earlier the NIA says to avoid frying. How does heat change the meat?
Heat fundamentally alters the molecular structure of the meat. When you cook muscle meats at very high temperatures, like pan-frying chicken until it's crispy, or grilling a fatty steak over an open flame, two distinct carcinogenic compounds are formed.
Right.
The first are HCAs, or heterocyclic amines. These form when the amino acids, sugars, and creatine naturally found in muscle meat react together at high temperatures.
And the second one?
The second are PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons.
That's a mouthful.
It is. And they're formed through a slightly different mechanism. When you grill a fatty piece of red meat, the fat and juices drip down onto the hot coals or heating element.
Right, causing the flare-ups.
Exactly. That fat burns and vaporizes, creating smoke that is absolutely loaded with PAHs. That smoke rises up and basically coats the surface of the meat you're about to eat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and both HCAs and PAH are capable of causing mutations in your DNA that lead to cancer.
So you're basically basting the meat in carcinogenic smoke.
That's exactly what's happening.
There was one other mechanism mentioned in the WHO cancer report regarding red meat specifically. Something about iron.
Yes, heme iron.
Yeah.
Red meat gets its color from myoglobin, which contains heme iron.
Oh, yeah.
While your body absolutely needs iron to function, heme iron specifically acts as a powerful pro-oxidant when consumed in high amounts. In the gut, it catalyzes a process called lipid peroxidation.
What does that mean for the gut?
Essentially, it damages the fats in the cell membranes of the delicate epithelial cells lining your colon. Your body then has to rapidly produce new cells to replace the damaged ones. And whenever cell turnover is accelerated like that, the risk of a random genetic mutation, which is how cancer starts, increases significantly.
Okay, so if we take a step back, we're essentially telling the listener to severely limit processed meats, fatty red meats, and high-heat cooking. But this creates a massive contradiction in the data. Based on the Stanford lifestyle medicine research we looked at, as we age, our bodies actually need more protein, not less.
Yes, they do.
So how do we resolve this?
It is known as the age 50-plus protein paradox. Starting around age 30, our muscle mass naturally begins to decline. It's a process called sarcopenia.
Right.
This loss accelerates significantly in our 50s and 60s. To prevent frailty and maintain independence, older adults actually need 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight.
Wow.
Yeah, that is roughly double the standard federal recommendation for younger adults.
Double. Why does the requirement go up so much just to maintain the muscle we already have?
It comes down to a physiological condition known as anabolic resistance.
Anabolic resistance.
Yes. As we age, our muscles simply become less sensitive to the amino acids circulating in our blood. They don't synthesize protein as efficiently as they did when we were 20. And the body is incredibly ruthless when it comes to survival. If you don't eat enough protein to run your essential organs, your body will literally cannibalize your skeletal muscles. It breaks them down to steal those amino acids to keep your liver, heart, and immune system functioning.
Let me see if I have this right. It's almost like as we age, our muscles become hard of hearing.
Hard of hearing.
Yeah, like when I was 20, I could just whisper 15 grams of protein at my muscles, and they'd hear it perfectly and start building.
I like this.
But now that I'm over 50, those muscles are hard of hearing. I can't whisper anymore. I have to use a megaphone and shout 30 or 35 grams of protein at them all at once just to get them to hear the signal to grow.
That is a brilliant analogy. Yes, you have to use a megaphone. And the science supports exactly that. It's not just about hitting a daily total of protein. It is entirely about that per meal threshold.
Right.
You need roughly 30 grams of high-quality protein in a single sitting to punch through that anabolic resistance and trigger muscle synthesis.
But wait, eating the protein isn't enough on its own, is it?
No, it isn't. You have to pair that megaphone of nutrition with a physical stimulus. You have to do resistance training.
Lifting weights?
Exactly. You lift weights to give the muscles a biological reason to grow, and then you eat that 30 grams of protein to give them the raw materials to actually do it.
Okay, so the mandate is clear. We have to shout with our protein. But we just spent the first half of this deep dive establishing that we can't use bacon, salami, or a grilled ribeye to do the shouting.
We did.
Where do we get this safe, clean protein?
We have to shift where we're looking. The oceans are a fantastic place to start. The National Institute on Aging recommends aiming for 8 ounces of seafood per week.
Okay.
But you have to be strategic. You want to emphasize fatty fish, like salmon, shad, and trout.
Because of the omega-3s.
Exactly. They are packed with polyunsaturated fats, which actively reduce cellular inflammation. That counteracts the very damage we talked about earlier.
That's great.
Plus, smaller fatty fish naturally contain much lower levels of heavy metals like mercury compared to large predator fish like tuna or swordfish.
Good tip. And if someone just isn't a fan of seafood, is there a safe way to keep poultry in the rotation without hitting those high heat dangers?
Absolutely. Fresh, lean chicken and turkey are excellent sources of protein. The key is just changing the preparation.
Right. No frying.
Right. Instead of frying or grilling over open flames, you bake, broil, or steam the poultry. This gives you the amino acids without the HCAs and PAHs.
I really want to talk about the plant-based options too, because the Vegetarian for Life nutritional guide we reviewed makes a really compelling case for plants. Things like beans, lentils, chickpeas, and tofu.
Plant-based proteins are arguably the most powerful tool you have. People often worry about getting complete proteins, but combinations of plant proteins contain all the essential amino acids your body needs to overcome anabolic resistance.
That's a big relief.
And furthermore, they bring something to the table that meat completely lacks: dietary fiber.
And how does that fiber play into the cardiovascular risks we discussed?
It acts as a direct counterbalance. Soluble fiber binds to cholesterol in your digestive system and pulls it out of your body before it can enter your bloodstream.
Oh, wow.
It also slows down digestion, which regulates blood sugar spikes. So while processed meats damage your blood vessels and spike diabetes risk, plant proteins with high fiber actively protect your arteries and stabilize your metabolism.
Which perfectly explains the data from the blue zones.
Yes.
These are the regions of the world where people consistently live to be 100 years old, largely free of chronic disease.
Yes.
And when researchers look at their plates, they overwhelmingly follow what's called the plant slant.
Exactly. In places like Okinawa, Japan, or Sardinia, Italy, their diets are anchored by beans: fava, black, soy, and lentils.
Right.
They do eat meat, interestingly, mostly pork, but the frequency and volume are totally different from the Western diet.
Right. They aren't eating a 16-ounce pork chop every night. How much meat are they actually eating?
Only about 5 times a month.
Wow, 5 times a month.
Yeah, and when they do eat it, the portion is only 3 to 4 ounces. Visually, that is about the size of a standard deck of cards. It is treated as a flavor enhancer or a side dish, not the main event.
Bringing this back to daily life, knowing the targets is one thing, but completely rewiring your grocery habits in your 50s is incredibly difficult.
It's very hard.
And there are specific biological hurdles that happen as we age that make it even harder.
There are, and we have to address them practically. One of the biggest hurdles is flavor loss. As you age, the number of taste buds decreases and your sense of smell gradually dulls. Foods that you used to find flavorful might suddenly taste incredibly bland.
So that explains why my dad is always reaching for the highly salted salami or pouring gravy over everything. He's chasing the flavor because it's one of the few things that punches through that dulled sense of taste.
Precisely. The brain still wants stimulation. But to avoid the massive blood pressure spike from all that sodium, you have to find alternative ways to stimulate those taste receptors.
What does the NIA suggest?
They highly recommend swapping the salt shaker for aggressive use of spices, herbs, and acids like lemon juice. You can make a piece of steamed chicken or a bowl of black beans incredibly vibrant using garlic, fennel seed, chili flakes, or citrus zest, all without adding a single milligram of sodium to your arteries.
What about the physical mechanics of eating? I know dental health issues or reduced saliva production can make chewing a thick piece of meat or a handful of raw almonds really difficult.
It's a very real barrier, but it doesn't mean you have to abandon healthy proteins. You just change the physical texture.
Okay.
If chewing is a chore, swap whole nuts for smooth almond or peanut butters. Trade a tough piece of meat for soft tofu or deeply simmered lentils.
That makes sense.
The smaller particle size actually makes it easier for your aging digestive system to absorb the nutrients too.
I see. Another thing that changes with age is the sensation of thirst, right?
Yes, your body's internal water gauge becomes less sensitive. You could be mildly dehydrated and your brain simply won't send the signal to drink.
Oh, that's dangerous.
It is. So you have to make hydration a conscious habit rather than relying on instinct. Drink fluids, water, low-fat milk, or clear broths regularly throughout the day, even if you aren't actively thirsty.
I also want to touch on what the NIA guidelines call empty calories. Things like crisps, biscuits, and sugary sodas. It seems like the math just doesn't work out for those foods as we get older.
It is entirely a mathematical problem. As we age, our overall daily calorie needs generally decrease because our metabolisms slow down and we tend to be slightly less active.
Right.
But as we discussed with the protein megaphone, our nutrient needs stay exactly the same, or even go up. If your daily calorie budget shrinks, but you fill it with a bag of crisps and a biscuit,
They've got no room left.
exactly, you have literally run out of room for the nutrient-dense, high-protein foods your muscles desperately need to survive. Every calorie has to pull its weight.
So I want to challenge you, the listener, to do something tangible with this information today. Look at your normal weekly grocery list. Find one place where you normally buy a package of deli meat, bacon, or sausages, and make one simple swap.
Just one.
Yeah, trade it out for a can of chickpeas, a fresh salmon fillet, or bag of lentils. Just one swap to start shifting the ratio on your plate.
And as you make those swaps, if you are worried about managing your weight or overeating even the healthy foods, we can borrow a brilliant, incredibly simple practice from the Okinawans.
Oh, what is it?
It's called the 80% rule, or hara hachibu. It is a 2,500-year-old Confucian mantra, they say, before meals, to remind themselves to stop eating when their stomachs feel 80% full.
Just stopping before you're stuffed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain it has had enough. That 20% gap between not being hungry and feeling totally stuffed is often the difference between maintaining a healthy weight effortlessly and chronic weight gain.
It's such a powerful, simple mindset shift. Stop eating when you're no longer hungry, rather than when you are full. Before we go, consider this. We've talked endlessly about the biology of what goes into your body, but research from the Framingham Heart Study points to something else entirely. The right tribe effect.
Fascinating study.
Right. The data shows that health behaviors, whether it's obesity, smoking, or your daily eating habits, are actually socially contagious.
Wow.
Yeah, they spread through social networks. So as you start redesigning your plate for your 50s and beyond, the ultimate secret might not just be looking at what is inside your fridge. You might need to ask yourself, who are you sitting at the table with?
That is a great point to end on.
Take these nuggets of knowledge into your week. Remember to speak a little louder to those hard-of-hearing muscles, and don't take out a predatory loan on your health for a bacon sandwich. You have the blueprint to build something much stronger.